Welcome back to Cards and Comics, guys. Today I'm going to talk about what I do when I go on all these little journeys I talk about. I talk about traveling quite a bit. And when I do, especially in the United States, I like to try to find, comic book shops or places to kind of chill out. Now, I don't always have time. I don't always have the ability to go and check out, cool comic book stores and things like that. But my last trip to Evansville, Indiana, I went down and I had about 2 hours to kill between the time I arrived and dinner with the team I was going to be working with. So I sought out two places. The first one was, I think, they got the Bookkeeper and Cosmic Quest. So the first place, or the Book Den or the Bookkeeper, I'll get it right in the post. It was cool going in because it was so old school. Now, this place sold used books, comic books, toys. It had a lot of, and it also had gaming cards and sports cards all in one store. So it was very similar to like when I was in Oklahoma, we had a store called Vintage Stock. It also had UCDs. You could buy UCDs, which you don't hardly see anymore anywhere, right? The last time you went into a store that sold used CDs. That's like such a 90s thing to do, right? So this store came out of the 90s. It was really interesting. But it also suffered the same kind of issues that stores from that era did. It basically suffered from disorganization. It suffered from pricing that sometimes seemed out of date or up to date. So digging around, I thought maybe I'd find some stuff that was at a good price. In general, I didn't find much that was really worth the while. I did pick up a few sports cards when I was there. I had a big selection of comic books, but it was so highly unorganized, it was hard for me to dig around and find the stuff like variants and things I usually would get. Or let's say some wall books or just some kind of key books, just kind of looking around. And so I bought one pack of cards, which is right here, this Topps Finest pack. And I think I did pretty good. I mean, I didn't get any autos or anything, but I got, the one thing I did get was, I got this Jose De La Cruz, or Ellie De La Cruz. Kind of insert rookie card. It's got like the shape of one. I don't think it's really rare, but it's cool to get a Ellie De La Cruz. And then I did get this purple Judge refractor out of 250. So, hey, if he's the, no, it's not a chrome card. I'm sorry. I was going to say I could redeem it for some money, but I can't. And then the rest of the pack was some more basic inserts. There's a Hank Aaron card there. Bobby Wood Jr. So it's like, some cards. So I got a pack of cards. Got an LA rookie card out of it. So that's not a bad pack. And then the one card I bought was this card here, and I thought it was pretty cool. Basically I got him for $15. This Team Pinnacle Ken Griffey Jr. So this is the first year for Team Pinnacle. I believe it is 90. Let's say here. I want to say it's 96. Yeah, it's 96 Pinnacle. So it's these really cool double-sided Team Pinnacle Dufex cards. Now, the one thing that I always didn't like about the set was it wasn't a double Dufex card. Like both card sides aren't Dufex, only the Griffey, which is the cool side. But I don't know if the technology couldn't do dual-sided Dufex. In fact, I don't think I've ever seen dual-sided Dufex. Not sure that this process can work that way. But the Griffey was cool, and it was a card. I don't think I had this card, so I just went ahead and grabbed it. But it was just like a cool Griffey card. I picked it up at the store because I looked around for like an hour, and I ended up getting just those two things. Now the next store I went to, Comic Quest. Now it had some other interesting things. So it actually had a giant selection of everything. This store was enormous. Like, it had so many back issues of everything and things and these like storage cabinets that were full of graded comic books, shelf after shelf of graphic novels, collected editions, and then just a huge selection of toys, gaming cards, supplies, and then the very, very back was a lot of really high-end comic books and figurines that they had, statues. So it was a really cool store, but just like the last store, it was a little disorganized, but the pricing here was really mixed. Like a lot of stuff was overpriced. Like you could just eBay comp like a toy, like I liked a lot of toys they had because they were a lot of 90s toys, but like they would be like 2 times what you could get one on a bite now on eBay. Right. So I was pretty discouraged. I found one toy I kind of dug, and one back issue or one, newer comic book. And I was like, I want to spend like $10 here. That's about it. Then went in the back, and when I went in the back, I found some really cool stuff. And, I was going to do a couple books, but I found one book in particular I really wanted. So I decided to waste or spend my budget on that one book. But the toy I picked up was this cool, Batman, the animated series, Poison Ivy. And this one has some accessories with it. I don't know this toy line. It's a Kinder toy that well to know if, like, generally what happened in those days, you did the first run, then the second run had like accessories that the first run didn't. And so this seems to be like maybe like the second run because it had kind of these kind of crazy weapons here with it. Now this might be the only Ivy toy that was in this animated series, but I seem to remember an Ivy just by herself. So I think this is like kind of like the second, issuing of this comic or this toy. And then you can see that this whole run of toys has accessories with it and vehicles. So I do feel like this was kind of like round 2 for the animated series, but I'm a big Poison Ivy collector, and I picked it up, and I thought it was just a cool toy. And it was very similar in comp to what I could buy it on eBay. Now, the one other book I bought there, besides the big one, wasn't really a anything special in terms of the book, but it was just a cool variant cover. So it's Gotham City Sirens. So they just came with a new series. So they have some variants with each of the Sirens, Catwoman, Harley, Ivy on them. And so this is the Ivy. I picked it up. The only thing that bothers me about this book is her belly button. It's just like it's really pronounced. It's kind of weird. Other than that, it's a cool book, and I collected a lot of Ivy variants. So it was just, and it was that cover price, so can't really beat that. But the book I picked up that I was really excited about, because this book is listed in a lot of best covers of the Golden Age. Kind of like gory. It's not overly gory, but when you really look at it, it's really crazy this made it to a comic book for kids cover. It's not a decapitation or anything like that, but it's still one of the books that you see listed a lot of times as being one of the coolest or kind of violent covers from the Golden Age. And it's True Crime number 3, CBCS 1.8, which is still a pretty good grade for this book. And it's this rat cover. So, and it's hard to I know I got a little glare here, but when you can see this book, the thing to think about here is he's getting shot, and the Tommy gun spells rat as the bullets go through his body. Like that's the cover. Then you got his girlfriend or shooting back. It's just a really crazy cover, and it's CBCS, so a lot of folks aren't as excited, but I don't really care. It's a really tough book. It's got a little bit of missing up there, but for the most part, it's a complete cover. That's the thing I liked about it. A little bit missing up in there. But these books can be really tough, and they don't sell very often. That's the thing too, is it is from 48, so it's a 40s book, which makes a big difference in my opinion from a 50s book. Back isn't actually that bad. Again, missing a little bit of cover there, but again, I think this is one of those books where it's just you don't find these books hardly in the wild anymore. I was always shocked to see this book out of all the crazy golden age and stuff that the person had, which there was other books. There was L.B. Cole books, some more books from L.B. Cole. So like he had books there. I didn't see any Schomburg, but he had some really cool books. So I ended up getting this, and I was pretty excited about it. When I comped it out, even though it was CBCS, he had it at a good price, a couple $100 over one that sold a little bit with a little bit of a lower grade. So I ended up going ahead and just snagging this one. So that is, the two places I went on my trip. And then I did go to, I talked about going back to Indiana, to see my buddy Andy at Indy Sports Card Exchange or Indy Card Exchange. And that's where I picked up, again, this Derek Jeter Platinum Gold. Totally certified, number 230. So on the same trip, and I picked up those comic books, that toy, a little bit of cards. I picked up this card. This was like I went to the trip to do this, besides go to work. It was kind of a vacation work trip. A lot of times when I travel, in this case, was going back home anyway. And so I decided to schedule the visit at the same time I was home for the facility I was going to go see. And so it kind of worked out. I was already there. Evansville is like a couple hours from Indianapolis, so I went ahead and went down. But while I was there, I was able to go and look at a few cool things while, and get a few comics and cards while I was there. So it's kind of like a fun thing to do as a side trip. Now, I also went today to the Saratoga Springs card show. It's brand new. Same dealer or promoter as the Albany show. So it's some similar folks. But I will say this, is there were some new people there. And the Saratoga Center, Conference Center, whatever, is so much nicer, in my opinion, than the Polish Center. And for me, it's so much easier to get there. So I was super stoked just to walk around and go to a card show that was not someplace I had to drive a while to get there and then really not enjoy the area as much. And so, and Saratoga is a fun place, man. You can go down. We had a good, met my wife and kids after the show. We had lunch at a really nice Mexican restaurant, and I walked around and went to a bookstore afterwards. And it was, went up to a donut, Darling Donuts, and had awesome donuts. They have great donuts, almost like crumble for donuts. It was just cool. It was a fun day. It was beautiful out. So it's like, I'd rather go to Saratoga, walk around Saratoga, and hit all those cool restaurants and places to shop in Saratoga than go down to Albany. That's just my opinion. Other people may disagree with me on that, but I was having a lot of fun just walking around. Now, I did at this, because there's also a different vibe in different dealers, they had comic books there too. So I'll show you the comic books I picked up. And I picked up some pretty cool books at this show. So first off here, I've got House of Secrets number 90. This is I believe a Neal Adams cover. And I just love, the House of Secrets here. Just a lot of great color, the green color. Just a really awesome Silver Age Neal Adams 15-cent copy. So there you go, Neal Adams, House of Secrets number 90. Great book. It was really fun to pick that up at a card show for the most part. Next up is something weird for me. I don't collect Archies, but I always look for Archies, and that's not what I paid. The guy was really overpriced on some of his Archies. I think it was like pre or pandemic pricing at some point, or just overpriced just to come down to seem like he was getting a deal. But I paid like $70 for all the comic books I'm going to show you. So here's Archie number 82. And the cool thing about this book is that it's got a little, a little innuendo on it. And I like the fact it's baseball themed, but yeah, it's Archie who scores with Veronica, even though I hit the home run, it's just like a little bit of, there was a lot of innuendo and kind of sexy covers in the Archie series. And those books sometimes are worth a little bit of money. So I picked this up just because it was sports themed, it's baseball themed, a little bit innuendo on the cover. So those do pretty well. There's the whole genre of people who collect those kind of books. Next up is another really cool. I'm not sure this is. I think this is Neil Adams as well. I picked it up. It may not be, but I think it is. Spectre #7, and it's just a really strong cover. I mean, the Spectre early on, man, had some amazing covers. Just the color, the green, the green color, but just like the eagle, the guy with the money, the dollar bill. It's just like such a strong cover. Great, it's really a product of its time. You don't see this kind of composition and covers anymore. It's just, the face the Spectre's making. It's just a really cool book. And again, for what I paid, less than $20 or whatever, $10, I think is, if you average it out, it was worth it, and it's just a cool book. It's not a key. It's not like, the Origin of Anyone. It's just a cool looking cover. Now, this next book is a key. So this is Showcase number 73, and it is a first appearance of the Creeper. The Creeper as a character is not, let's say, a number one type of character. It's a really weird concept of a reporter who dons this persona to like fight crime because he reports on crime, but the police aren't doing enough, and it's a whole thing. The reason I picked up, obviously, just because it's a key. Creeper is in a lot of DC stuff. I think he's in Justice League Unlimited, the animated series. So, but he was in a series of comics I really loved as a kid called The Question. The first series, The Question, for DC. The Question was a Charlton character, and so the Creeper was a character in that one. He's a close associate of the Blue Beetle. So there's a lot of Blue Beetle Creeper crossover. So he's a character I read as a kid because I read a lot of those comic books. So it's cool just to get his first appearance. Again, it's a 70s, first DC appearance of a character, so it's worth the money. So that is the comic book section. So I did go to a card show to buy cards. And remember, I gave the big spiel about, going, selling cards and buying, 90s and pre-war. Well, here we go. This is not 90s or pre-war. This is an L.A. De La Cruz. This is it's hard to see, but it's it's what they call a logo variant. So it's basically the Reds logo in the border here. And that's a super short print. The reason why I picked it up is because being from Indy area, when I go back home, I got some folks who are big Reds collectors. I kind of bought this as a gift for some friends of mine back in Indiana. So I know that they like these kind of cards, and they always give me like Mets cards, and we talk about here, or Yankees cards, better off Yankees cards, but it's just a cool rookie card of Ellie, and it's pretty good short print. So I went ahead and grabbed this at the show. It was a good price. The guy came off of it for me a little bit. Now the rest of it will make a little more sense. So the only other really modern card I bought was this Jim Kelly Refractor. I believe this is 96 Topps Chrome. At least it's 96 Topps Chrome. Which again, first year Topps Chrome, Jim Kelly Refractor. This is the 3,000 Yard Club, so it's not his base card, but it's a cool, it's a subset. But I just like it, I like all those old refractors, and being in the New York area, Jim Kelly is still really, really popular. Now the next run of cards is going to be from a set I'm building. I've talked about it a little bit, but I haven't really added to it in a while, and this was a really good opportunity. A guy had a whole run of these cards in I call like normal, or a little bit nicer than normal shape. I would say like they're probably one grade above what you normally see at a show or at a collection. So it's the 33 Indian gum cards. So and they were, I thought, priced really fairly. So here, and again, some of these, I mean, if you've never seen this set, it's outrageous. It's literally one of the it's just, there's just so much going on in the set. Pretty racist in some ways, but it's a product of its time. And being a Native American myself, this is sort of like, these kind of sets. It's just a reminder of like, what was going on. But here's kind of a beheading card right here. I know it's not, it's just showing like there's a lot of cards in the set showing how primitive or how evil the Native Americans were. And this is one of those kind of cards here. So it's just interesting, but it's like, again, $10, but you can see the back on this one. And, the shape on these is pretty good. Color on these is really nice. As I go through, you'll see kind of different artwork, and here's the back. So, most of them are pretty clean backs, no paper loss. Just, honest wear corners. This is one of my favorites, Red Tomahawk. He's got a big story. If you want to really read about someone who had an interesting life, read his story, just Google him. Nice clean back. There's only one card in here. I don't think I actually got it. There was one card that had kind of a really messy back. So Red Tomahawk. So this is another example of, what happens when you talk to people if you're not Native American. This is a very common thing to happen. So this card name is White Man Runs Him, right? And so I would, think or gander to think on this card is, or just this character is that's not his real name. So they probably asked people around him, because if you read the back, it talks about how he aided the U.S. Army, I think. Yeah, U.S. Army. And so when they asked, who's that? This is the derogatory term they called him by the people that they probably weren't happy with him. And that's where you get the white man's run him. I'm sure that's a derogatory term that they called him, and it was translated that way. And that's what they named this card. Just to give you an example, like I guarantee you that was not his name. It's not his name, but that's the name they put on the card. It's just like if you talk to people in the Dakotas, they have, people call them the Sioux, but that's not really what they're the Lakota in the Dakota. The Sioux is translated as snake. And so they asked one tribe, like, who's those people over there? And they call, those are the snakes, the Sioux. And that's the name that stuck, for the non-natives. They called them the Sioux, and like, well, that's not really what they call themselves. So that happened quite a bit with the Native Americans. The naming of who they are and what they called themselves a lot of times wasn't used. Fishing, so just like the high number series. So there's a high number series, 161. The high number series is where you get a lot of like day in the life type cards. Fishing, hunting, basket weaving. So this is one of those cards. So there was a high series in this set. You can always tell when a high series card comes in. I think the backs look different as well. Buffalo Bill. I think it's actually a pretty cool card. Pretty nice card. So some of these cards are really nice. Sounding Sky. So just a lot of really nice. And they present really well. And this is the grade I was going for anyway for the set. That 1 to 3 range for most of these cards. Pigeon's Egghead. I'm not sure that's his name either, but you can Google it. Again, nice back. So these are really just well representation of this card set. Great color. White Cap. Conquering Bear. So just great looking cards, man. Just Wolf. So again, fun to see these cards. And then Victory Cry. Number 88. And again, I think the whole series, it's just one of those things where if I could ever piece it together, it'd be awesome. This would be definitely one of those binder. I mean, putting these cards in a binder and just flipping through them would be so, so awesome. And so I'm not sure, this is one of those sets that I might actually try to do raw, because, unless they're 8s or 7 or 8s, they're not really worth a ton. There's a few cards, Geronimo and a few cards, Pocahontas, have value, but I'm just saying in general, majority of these cards, it doesn't matter if they're graded or not, they don't bring a ton of money. And it would just be fun to kind of just flip through and a binder set like this and just see all these cards kind of laying next to each other. So that was the Indian Gum cards. And I really enjoyed seeing those cards. And he had more I didn't pick up because some of them had damaged backs or had a lot more visible creasing. The last 2 cards I picked up really were cards from a set that I've really loved, and I'm thinking about maybe getting a few more Hall of Famers from the set, but it's a T205 set. So here is Zach Wheaton. This is a 1. So you can see it's a very nice one on the front, but you know the horror that's going to, when I flip this thing over, there you go. There you go. It's a cycle back, but still the horror of the back because it's a 1 with a really good front. So that's very common. It's a 1. I think it's still a cool card. Zach Wheat, it's a great player. So I think it's a very pretty one on the front. Ugly damage on the back. So that's one of the T205s I picked up. The other one was Hal Chase. It's a 1.5. But this is a little different. So the front's pretty nice. And even as I kind of put it in the light and move it around, I don't see like big creases. And then when you flip it over, you don't really see, it doesn't have that really crazy back damage, honestly. So I'm not sure. We were both kind of looking at this card going like, I don't know, like, it looks really nice for a 1.5, especially when you compare it to this 1, and, the back damage is like literally, night and day. So I don't know. Sometimes it's really rough when you look at graded cards and you try to like really pick out what the graders are looking at or saw on these cards. So, but they're still really nice cards. And again, a lot of pre-war picking up here, a little bit of 90s, but that's how the show was. The show didn't have a ton of 90s cards, honestly. Just a few cards here and there, but in general, it was a little barren of 90s cards. So that's the kind of my Saratoga Springs sports card pickup, and some pickups from my travels through Indiana recently. So hopefully you enjoy, and let me know what you think in the comments. I'll see you next time in Cards and Comics. Bye.